I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
That's Lavi.
Salty and Chip.
Shout out to the big homie Pink Metalhead.
Yeah.
Look, sometimes you gotta recalibrate and think about what your game plan is, what your 5-year plan is. Maybe YouTube's in that 5-year plan, maybe it's not. But either way, it doesn't speak about you as a person.
I think it's healthy for people to realize where they're at and say, you know what, I'm taking a break or I'm doing this and that. Like, I think that it's healthy, and I'm glad that people make those choices for themselves.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. If you haven't, check out Pink Metalhead. She's a reactor. She was actually in the game before we were.
Yep. She was.
We're
she's cute.
So we're still relatively new at this, so much respect to all the people that came before. And it's a marathon for sure. If you think that doing this stuff is easy, doing it like at a certain level of quality is not. Mm-hmm. It's extremely difficult.
It's very difficult.
So anyway, shout out to the big homie. This is Exodus, Children of a Worthless God. I'm assuming this is going to be an anti-Christian. You Christians are dumb.
More than likely.
Kirk Hammett was in a band called Exodus. I don't know if the Atrocity Exhibition, I guess is the name of the record. Is this a lyric video?
No, there was none.
Okay. I don't know if this is the same band, but Kirk Hammett was in a band called Exodus before he got recruited to Metallica. Yeah, so I don't know if this is the same band or not. I don't know what year this song came out. But we'll see. Children of a Worthless God, Exodus. Let's make it happen. Wait, where's my lifty? Okay, that's righty. Let's do it.
Go. Oh boy. What? How do you feel?
Well, I mean, I'm still trying to figure out why these songs actually frustrate me and why songs against Christianity don't really bother me.
I know. You look all like tight.
Well, I think it's fair criticism and I think it's fair game. You know, metal has, I think it was Marshy from Narrative is Murder was saying that, you know, yelling at Christians is like cool to do in metal, but it's really useless at this point. Because
everybody's doing it?
Well, I mean, we're not the ones changing the landscape of the world right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you know, if you were to do that shit during the Dark Ages, and that's some gangster shit to do to speak against Christianity, but now it's like, whoop-de-doo.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And what's going to happen to you?
Nothing.
Like, what's going to happen to you in the Western world
Nothing.
if you talk shit about Christianity?
Yeah, that's true.
You just get a bunch of angry 16 and 17-year-olds, or get Ben
I wonder
Webb.
if these people
You'll get Ben Webb and Lilo at your show, but
Yeah.
other than that, I mean, who
Ben
cares?
Webb calling you a boob.
Yeah, shout out to the big.
I can't take people seriously.
That's my
when they
guy,
say
but
that.
isn't he in his mid-30s?
That's exactly what I thought. I say to myself,
Calling me
isn't
a
he like
boob.
37 years old?
We got to set up an interview or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, yeah, Khalid. You got to bring your sheikh or something. We got to have a discussion about Islam or whatever. I mean, I am a student of Islam. I'm not a Muslim. I'm a Christian. I'm a student of Islam. I'm a you know, virtual proxy disciple of Yasser Hadi, and there is definitely room for violence in source literature of Islam, and there's arguments for and against. But so, you know, my emotional offenses, you know, I'm you know, we live around a bunch of Muslims and they're always the nicest people in the block.
Seriously.
You know.
Except for the kids.
Except for those kids.
Yeah.
You know. But,
those kids are terrible. But their mom's a liar too, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
they stole our broom and I went over and asked them, can we have our broom back? She's like, said she didn't have it.
SubhanAllah.
I'm like,
SubhanAllah. You should have.
they took our bike and put it in the dumpster. The kids, that's not just that one family. All the others, and we're surrounded by tons of them.
Yeah, they're
Like,
all good.
They're all good.
Ramadan, they're always
That's
hanging
just
out.
the exception.
Cakes and all that jazz. But you know, at some level, you know, we were in the fireside, and somebody said, "I don't want to talk about politics." It's like, hello. It's like politics is the collective expression of the will of the people.
You got the wrong channel.
Well, I just think you have the wrong country. Or you have the wrong world. I mean, if you want to avoid, especially now in the digital age, you want to avoid politics. I mean,
Maybe there's tons of channels you can go to avoid politics altogether.
Well, sure, you can distract yourself from politics, but that shit is going to affect you. Like, for example, the shit that happens on YouTube. Alex Jones, they fucking deplatformed him.
Right.
Well, that's political. That's a political statement. So you can say what you want about, you know, it's impossible to not be affected by it. You know, you want to, you know, stick your head in the sand, go for it. But at some level, I asked Otep this. I said, you know, do you feel a responsibility as an artist to speak against, you know,
She absolutely does.
social ills, you know, and obviously she does.
Right.
So then these guys feel like that Islam is a threat to Western culture or Western life or the Western way of life or however you want to put it. I just think, like, to me, like, this can get real dirty real fast.
So
when
what?
when
Talk
you
about some
combine
races.
this type of anger with the refugee crisis and you meld those two together, it can motivate people to be really
I agree.
hateful shit.
I totally agree.
And, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
you know,
Sometimes I think that people say stuff on purpose to galvanize people against a certain group.
Right.
And then other times I think they're just trying to express how they feel.
Right.
And not think about the implications and how that's going to affect, the children coming in.
Well, here's the problem. This was in 2007. Mm-hmm. Who was the president? Was that still Bush? Bush was on his way out. Obama was on his way in. Right? When did Obama? Obama was 2008, right?
I thought he was 2008.
And this record came out in 2007. So you could say some shit like that against Muslims during the Bush administration. You could talk shit about Muslims in the Bush administration. The Obama administration, you couldn't talk shit about anybody but white males.
I'm confused. I thought like when you say something about Islam or Muhammad or like somebody did a cartoon and their life was threatened. Were these?
No, they killed. Charlie Hebdo. They killed them.
Yeah. So how did this guy get to?
Well, these guys were not as famous as Charlie Hebdo. I mean, they were a specific outlet in France.
Okay.
And they specifically said, we're gonna fuck with you because you're not supposed to draw pictures of Muhammad.
Yeah.
And so, not only did they do that, but they did it in a very mocking, disrespectful way.
Oh, really?
And there are a hadith. I'm sorry. Where
how they did it. Yeah, I thought you killed him in a disrespectful way.
Bukhari level Sahih hadith where somebody was mocking the Prophet. Like there was this guy and we're gonna have Khalid, I love, but I want a sheikh as well. I want a sheikh on so that we can actually have this discussion. So if we can get a sheikh, maybe I'll reach out to Yasser Qadi, inshallah, we'll see. But,
wow. Boy,
but like there is a hadith where this man he was blind, I think, or something like that. I don't think I'm getting it right. And she was mocking the Prophet, and he said, "Stop doing that. Shut the hell up. Don't say that. Like you're crossing the line."
Muhammad was saying, "Don't mock me."
No, it was this guy and his servant.
Yeah.
And she kept talking. She was talking shit about Muhammad. I think it was his wife actually. And he was talking shit about Muhammad, and he said, "Yo, stop doing that."
Yeah.
And she wouldn't stop. And he said, "I'm warning you, this is the last time." And she wouldn't stop. So he killed her. Well, then the next day, the father wanted qisas. Qisas is vengeance, justice.
Yeah.
And Muhammad said, "Why did you do this?" He said, "Yes, Ya Rasul, I did it." And then Muhammad said, "Well, what the fuck, man? How could you do that?"
Yeah.
And then the guy explained the situation. He said, "Ya Rasulullah, she kept mocking you. I told her to stop. She wouldn't listen, so I killed her." And Muhammad said,
gosh.
"There's no blood on you," meaning nobody can touch you. What are you gonna do? So then here you go. You got these guys in Charlie Hebdo, and they're making comics mocking Muhammad. And I mean, even when Muhammad,
I don't understand. Like, how does something like that happen?
What do you mean?
Like, you have a lot of respect for God, but I could say anything and you wouldn't kill me. Like, how? Why is this guy?
Well, that's because,
why are they resorting to that?
Well, my reference point is Jesus.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Jesus allowed himself to be mocked and killed and crucified.
And who's their reference point?
Well, Muhammad.
And Muhammad killed people for disrespecting him?
Well, we just talked about this at the when he was doing sajda, he was praying at the Kaaba.
Yeah.
And then Abu Jahl and his buddies dumped the dead camel on him.
Yeah.
And he couldn't get up, and then he had to get Fatima to come over, and they helped him up. And when he cleaned himself off, he looked at the guys and said, "I'm gonna kill all you motherfuckers."
Yeah.
And he did.
Yeah.
The Battle of Badr, he slaughtered all of them, dumped them in the well. You know what I mean? Like, and then when he dumped them there, he's like, "Yeah," But I mean, how can you blame him? They were oppressing his people the whole time. I'm not saying he's a bad person for doing that, because like I said in the other video, if you would know what these people were doing to these people, like what happened with Bilal, where they took him out into the desert and put hot stones on him until, his back, and then the other guy was working in metallurgy, and then the woman was like, on his back with this burning hot iron.
Yeah.
Like, if you'd have known the type of persecution these people were dealing with, you wouldn't feel sorry for any of them. But the fact is, that's the reference point. With us, Jesus is a reference point. Let everybody kill him.
Right.
So obviously, if you were to say that, I'd be like, well, I hope you repent.
Yeah.
Because it's a dreadful thing to fall in the hands of the living God, I think, because of Hebrews 10.
Yeah.
So, keep talking shit. Allah's going to deal with you himself. He doesn't need me. But it's a different culture, these guys are... in his mind, that you could tell the guy was like, he warned her. He's like, yo, don't stop doing that. I love you. What are you doing? I hate to miss you. Even when he
hate to miss you.
Even when he went back to Mecca, there were some. So like Mecca, the Meccan people, the people in Mecca, his own countrymen, the Quraysh tribe and all that, they were terrible to him. And when he came back to Mecca, he pretty much said, all right, guys, everybody becomes a Muslim. Everybody gets a clean slate. Except, and then he had that kill list. You know, and one of the people that came up to him was on the kill list. And the guy was like, Ya Rasulullah, can I have forgiveness, blah, blah, blah. And Muhammad wasn't saying nothing to him. And then the guy was like, come on, you know, I'm sorry. I was talking shit about you. I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. And Muhammad didn't say anything about him. And then the guy said, please forgive me. So Muhammad said, all right, you're forgiven.
He did?
Yeah. And then when he left, he turned to his boys. He turned to Umar ibn al-Khattab and Abu Bakr. He said, what the fuck? Why didn't you murk this guy? He was mocking me the whole time. And they were like, Ya Rasulullah, why didn't you wink? Why didn't you? Because he said it 3 times. Because he was silent.
Yeah.
He's like, why didn't you wink, Ya Rasulullah? And he's like, I'm the fucking prophet. Like, I'm not going to go and fucking winking at you guys. You guys should have murked
you guys are supposed to know, but like, on Vikings.
There was a kill list.
Yeah.
And women were on the kill list because the women used to do poetry and sing and shit. And there was this one woman, I forgot what her name was, something. And she had written, you know, this thing about, you know, and like when they came to Mecca, they found, you know. So it's like, so then you got Charlie Hebdo, and they're doing all this stupid comics and, you know, mocking Islam and purposely like trying to poke, you know, they draw Muhammad Day and all this shit.
Muhammad Day?
Draw Muhammad, because you're not supposed to do anything about Muhammad. You're not supposed to have any depictions about Muhammad.
Yeah.
And so these motherfuckers decided they're going to do a Draw Muhammad Day, a whole day across the world where everybody's drawing Muhammad. So these dudes were like, word. No. Right.
That's on purpose, though.
So they went in there and they slaughtered these people. Like it's on camera and shit. Like the guard was there and they went in there and murked those people.
Do you think that this type of a song would
evil shit
instigate the same sort of reaction if they were bigger?
No, because I think this song is hostile. This is a hostile song. This is like, we hate you motherfuckers. Fuck you guys.
Yeah.
Whereas
so what do you think it would do?
Charlie Hebdo were like the snotty kid who would just like talk shit because he thought that the security guard was going to protect him. Like he didn't realize that there's whole groups of people that don't give a fuck about the security guard. The security guard had our knives and were helping us get knives into the school. So, you know what I mean? So like. These guys, I mean, I think Charlie Hebdo happened like years after this but after the song came out. I'm just saying that my point is there's a clash in Western culture with certain strains of Islam that I'm not sure, certain strains, that because, you know, we talk to the Muslims and they're all peacefuls or whatever, but like there's certain strain of Islam that is just completely incompatible with Western culture. And what's interesting is the ones that are incompatible know that they're incompatible with Western culture. So Anjem Choudary, you know, we talked about Anjem Choudary in England. This guy, so there was a bombing on 7/7/2007 in England, and it was basically like their 9/11. It was a lot more scaled down, but it was like a subway thing, and they blew themselves up and killed a bunch of civvies. And Anjem Choudary took to the streets a week later and was like 777 la ilaha illallah 7. You know, he was like mocking them. Yeah. And he's in the West, and he was allowed to do this. He was allowed to go in because you know it's free speech. But God forbid, you know. So it's this really strange thing now where it's like there are certain, like I'm being very careful. There's certain strains of Islam that are not compatible with Western culture, and the concept of free speech. And the ability to antagonize without having your life threatened is you know, Western people, they're just used to offensive shit. We're used to Howard Stern, and we're used to, you know, nothing being sacred. Especially in postmodernist Western, nothing is sacred. You can, you know, diss the Blessed Mother. You could diss everybody. Right. Well, these motherfuckers are like, what? Once again? Nope. Stay right there. You know, in the hood, somebody says, "Stay right there." Don't. Well, you better have you better have something on you, because if somebody says stay right there,
you're in trouble.
You better have. My man, did I tell you about this? Ant and Ed got in a fight.
Oh, I
said, stay
barely
right there.
remember it.
It was like, nah, you ain't going nowhere. Oh man. So you like this song? I'm not a fan of it, but I get it. As a Westerner, I understand people in the West being sick and tired of this shit, because it does say in the Quran that those who make mischief in the city, like crucifixion, is a punishment.
Oh,
but it's not execution, crucifixion, the answer for those not in your plan. That's not necessarily true. It's about people who are constantly like, fucking shit up in your town. The crucifixion is, that is there in the Quran for sure. Mm-hmm. So, but it is a capital offense to blaspheme Muhammad or blaspheme Allah. Mm-hmm. You'll die over that shit. Mm-hmm. Of course, the answer that I've heard about Charlie Hebdo and things like that is, well, there was a trial. In each one of these things, there was a trial and the person was found guilty. Mm-hmm. Well, no, there was no trial with the guy with the servant lady. He just killed her.
Yeah.
He got put on trial and he got let off.
Yeah.
So it's, I'm not sure. And it's interesting because in the Meccan, in the narratives of conquest in the Sirah, I haven't heard Yasser Qadi mention that particular story. Okay. Anwar al-Awlaki mentioned that story. Yeah. And Anwar al-Awlaki was a terrorist, activist.
So do you think he told it to kind of be like, hey guys?
Of course.
What the heck?
Of course.
Wow.
So he was more on the violent side. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you want to be peaceful, there's enough ahadith and surahs in Islamic theology to be a peaceful person. But if you want to be a violent motherfucker,
yeah.
From what I can perceive, there's enough there. And I had a friend one time tell me, like, we didn't get to go through the Middle Ages like you guys have, like Christians. Like, Christians figured out, like, this whole, using violence shit is not going to work into the 18th and 19th century. So we had a 600-year head start on Islam. And we had the convenience of having Jesus and the apostles as the main figureheads of the religion, who went and died willingly and never lifted a sword.
Right.
Unfortunately, these guys, you have Muhammad, you have Abu Bakr, who was a warrior, obviously not at the level of Khalid ibn Walid or Umar ibn al-Khattab, but he was a warrior. He was the next Khalifa, and they went and did jihad. Right. Umar went and did jihad. Ali went and did jihad. All the four rightly guided Khalifa went and did jihad. Yeah. There's nothing you could... there's nothing... they did it. Mm-hmm. Period. Full stop. But there's a lot of, like, new Islamic sort of, okay, how do we deal with this now in the modern world? Mm-hmm. But my point is there's enough literature to where, you can do this stuff. So, I understand, like, as a Westerner... especially as a musician, like, if you feel like this religion is bleeding into the political sphere, which it is, because again, from a Western perspective, there's freedom of speech, there's the Establishment Clause, which is, the separation between church and state, and so, but then these guys come in and say, fuck that. No, you don't get that freedom of speech. There is no separation of church and state. And then Westerners are like, are you serious? This is our fucking, get the fuck out of here then. So there's that, sometimes I fear, like, it's like, who's gonna bend? Like, me personally, I'm not if I could, would I make it illegal to mock Muhammad?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
See, the emotional Vin says, well, of course, because I love those people. And I know how deeply it hurts them to...
I don't think anybody should mock each other. Like, that's why the Bible says... to treat people like you want to be treated. We're supposed to love people like we love ourselves. We're supposed to love people and treat them with respect and with honor. And if you do that, then you don't have to ban that. People automatically don't do it. But I think that you couldn't say you can't make fun of a certain whatever. I don't think it's nice, but I don't think that we should limit what people...
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Some things I think need to be mocked.
I'm not a fan. Well, see, that's the counter argument. That's the counter argument, because
Society
the counter
needs to be able to say that's wrong.
that's the counter argument, is that actually, you need to be able to mock certain ideologies so that they'll be shamed into oblivion.
Yeah.
And so, satire, that's kind of one of the roles of satire, is to take, things in society that are being taken seriously that shouldn't, and undercut them. And so it's like, so these people in the West are saying, look, this is part of some giant conspiracy to make it so that these guys can get a foothold of the United States of Islam. I thought that was a pretty ignorant line. Ignorant.
Which one?
Well, the United States of Islam.
Yeah, what do you mean?
Well, instead of the United States of America, it's the United Sharia, basically. I thought that was a pretty ignorant line. Ignorant in the sense of, couldn't you have come up with something a little bit more creative than the United States of Islam? Come on. But I get it. It's in the third verse, babe. You just scroll down there. It's right there.
I saw it. I saw them.
So, I mean, I get it. I get where the anger is coming from. If I'm looking at it from a completely, right there, praising the death of the free, United States of Islam. And that was Bush's rhetoric, was they hate us because we're free. Which is like, oh, it has nothing to do with American bases.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that's what he was saying. Oh yeah, Bush was saying. And remember freedom fries?
People telling me that the reason that they hate Americans is because you guys are free. When I went to Latvia, actually, that's why people. Because I'll tell you what. So the only time in my life I ever went hitchhiking was with these group of people. We had to get back, so we were going to hitchhike. So I'm like, well, I guess. So there we are, hitchhiking.
Our picture.
And
hey, little lady.
So we get in.
Are you in for some miscegenation? Shout out to the big homie Varg.
So the guy's like, he was asking us where we were from, and my friend was from Canada, and so he was saying, I'm Canadian, and he was like, oh, he was like so happy to meet a Canadian. Now, some of the people that I met when I said that I was American loved it, but this guy, when I said, yeah, and we're from America, he was like, he goes, Amerikanski? And his like face like got so angry looking. I was like, I should have never said this. This guy is gonna murder us and dump us in a ditch. And then like that would happen. Like some people would be like usually the younger people were excited and they wanted to know. Like I met like a lot of like younger girls because I was at a camp and they'd want to know if I knew the Olsen twins. Did you ever meet the Olsen twins? That was like the big thing. But yeah, but he, and so I was asking people, I was like, why do they hate Americans? Like, what's going on, Because you know how I am, like, don't know much about the politics side. It kind of bores me sometimes. But, and yeah, that's what people were telling me. They were saying because Americans are free.
Wait, who is it? The Latvians were saying that, or the Americans that were there?
I don't remember now who said it to me, but I know multiple people said it to me, but I think it must have been the Americans telling me.
Must have been the Americans, subhanAllah. Look, America.
But I didn't know what was
America during the Bush administration was under like this crazy delusion that we were just this free nation, and those nasty Muslims, they just had nothing to do with our unilateral support of Israel and their illegal settlements and their oppression and the apartheid that they're doing against the Palestinians. That has nothing to do with that. Has nothing to do with fucking American, bases over there in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait and shit. No. It's because we're free. They were sitting back there in Saudi Arabia going, those fucking free America, fuck those guys, and they're free.
Well, I thought it was jealousy. It kind of made sense.
Yeah, so I think that kind of reflects some of that attitude. It's like, I wish, I think, like I said, I think it's valid criticisms, okay? The atrocity exhibition, I think, is like them just talking about all the various atrocities in the world, I guess. I would have loved it if he would have talked about how the operation of the Lex Talionis, in the sense of, we've done a bunch of evil shit in Islamic countries. We've killed a bunch of innocent Islamic people.
Yeah.
We've fucked up Islamic weddings with our drones. Like, we've done a bunch of evil shit to people. And we've killed more of them 50 to 1, 500 to 1 than they of us. Go look at Noam Chomsky's, who are the real terrorists. I mean, we've done a bunch of evil shit to people. So, I wish you would balance some of this shit out.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, these guys are bad because they're doing it in the name of Allah. We're okay because we're killing in the name of imperialism? Like, what the fuck? Like, have some balance.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm speaking out of ignorance here, because maybe the next one is American imperialism and all the evil fucked up shit we do to people all over the world. In which case, that would be perfect, right?
Yeah. How come we haven't seen a song about that?
That's a very good point. It's weird, man.
Yeah, because we'll see about against Christianity.
Yeah.
You'll see, a little bit of this. You'll
Yeah.
see, against religion in general, against
Yeah.
God.
I'd like to see a song against statism, like the Western version of statism. You know what's interesting is that at the end of the day, here's the facts. Everybody, people go crazy about Muslims and Sharia. Mm-hmm. They're trying to impose their belief system onto us. What people don't realize is that everybody has a belief system that they want to impose on people.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
Most atheists are secular humanists. Mm-hmm. Yes, you do. You want to impose secular humanism on the world. You know what's interesting is they act as if secular humanism is like the default, and that the religious shit is like spice and shit. But secular humanism, their worldview is a default. No, it's not. No, it's not. It is a worldview that currently the Western world, because we're post-Christian and postmodern, is kind of like, what else do you have? Because you got to do something to run a culture. But most of y'all are secular humanists, and that's your Sharia that you want imposed on the world, or at least in Western culture. And secular humanism is really just watered down Christianity, but that's a different discussion. But so it's crazy to me that these people are like, oh, these people want to impose their Sharia on our way of life. Well, your way of life is secular humanism. So you don't want to impose that on people? Of course you do.
Yeah.
Look, here's the thing. I'm not mad at people for trying to impose secular humanism. It just means that I'm not going to send my kid to your school.
Right.
I'm not going to send my kid to be taught secular humanism in your school.
Right.
But these people, these secular humanists, they impose their Sharia on people, for sure. Who is it every Christmas that can't stand to see a fucking nativity scene in a yard?
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah.
Who's trying to eliminate any vestige of God in the public sphere? Mm-hmm. Don't talk about the establishment clause, because a political person offering a prayer doesn't establish a religion. Mm-hmm. It's him practicing a religion. The establishment clause is something very, very specific. So you get these secular humanist jihadists that want all semblance of God removed from the public sphere.
Yeah.
Not every single one of them, but there are militant strains of secular humanists that don't want anything. They want everything to do with God completely erased from everything. Mm-hmm. And so they go and try to impose their Sharia onto all of us. No secular humanist says, well, we can have a secular humanist state. We can have a Christian state. We can have a, and then they're like, oh, you want a theocracy? Well, what do you want to have? An oligarchy? Which is statism, which is what many of you want. I was talking to somebody. He was like, yeah. I was like, oh, you're a statist. He goes, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But at least he's honest. Shout out to the big homie, BM fan. But at least he's honest, and at least he gets he understands the implication.
Yep.
Somebody's worldview is going to dominate a given culture. So, and that's why you get people like Antifa, and that's why he was defending Antifa. Mm-hmm. These people that rolled up to somebody with an American flag and beat the hell out of them because it was a symbol of oppression. Mm-hmm. So, my point is, everybody has a Sharia that they want imposed on their given culture. Mm-hmm. And I think you have to draw the line when you're talking about using violence in order to do that. Argue, legislate, but you can't use violence. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where people like this cross the line.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with a Muslim dude saying that he wants Sharia, but you have to convince the majority of Americans that Sharia is best for America.
Right.
You can't do it via violence.
Right. Force it on them.
It's the same thing with the secular humanists. You've got to convince people that your current version of secular humanism is the best thing for America. I personally don't believe that it is, because it doesn't protect everybody in our nation that needs to be protected. Y'all know where I'm going with that. So, but the point is, we have to argue with each other and convince each other, not kill each other. So Yeah, I don't like it. I think these guys have a point, and I think that it's well done. And we haven't even talked about the musicianship, which was amazing.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the musicianship.
This was some next level shit. It was like a blast in the past.
As far as
just when you had to really be proficient at the instrument and
what you said, these people are recent. When did you say they came out?
This album came out in 2007.
Yeah.
But I want to say that these guys are probably Kirk Hammett's band, which means they've been around as long as Metallica, at least, right? This is a band Kirk was on, and then he left, I think. But the musicianship was top notch. And I think this was because you know what? They never said, we're going to kill you, motherfuckers.
No.
They just said, I don't like this. I hate this. You guys got problems. Here are the problems.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that's the way that a free people are supposed to be able to operate. I don't like what he said, but he's making points about why he believes Sharia is not good for America.
Yep.
You know, but what was very interesting to me was the chorus where it says, you fear seeing through your lies. Meaning you fear me because I see through your bullshit. But on the other side is, I'm afraid of you. I fear raping of innocent minds. I don't really like the term raping. I hate when people use it, but I get what he's saying.
Yeah.
Because... like we said in the other video, you get some kid 18 to 25 and you fuck with his mind enough to where he's going to blow himself up. How does that not constitute a serious violation?
Yep, I agree.
But I think that was probably the most self-aware line in the entire song. That he's afraid of them.
Yeah, there's fear going two directions.
Yeah, and it's like we always say, right? You know, John says perfect love casts out fear. Because fear has to do with torment. You're afraid that this person is going to bring some sort of torment to you.
Yep.
And I think on their side, they feel it too, because the Western world is so influential on the whole world. So then they could say the exact same thing. You know what's crazy is that the Westerner could sing that about the terrorist, and the terrorist could sing the exact same thing about the Westerner.
Well, that's weird. Yeah.
Right? The terrorist fears us, and they see through our lies, because there are lies about Western culture. There are a lot of lies that Western culture propagates and believes. Oh, you can have sex with whoever you want.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no consequences. CDC.com, go for it.
Right.
Like, that's bullshit. Not to mention the emotional toil, especially that it takes on women. So there's a lot of lies in Western culture. I fear raping of innocent minds. Like, you know, there's a lot of that going around. So I think that was a very, very self-aware and very significant line, and the guy probably doesn't realize how significant that is. Sometimes these people write stuff and it's really fucking deep and profound. There's a lot of fear going on in both cultures. They're afraid that their daughters are going to end up like American girls that you see on TV.
Yep.
Because what's interesting is if you're steeped in Western culture, you don't know when a person's being prostituted.
Right.
I mean, I hate to say it that way.
Yep.
But when you have women and their messaging is the only way they can get real positive attention is when they take their clothes off or whatever, that's a form of prostitution. So these guys who are not desensitized to prostitution like many Westerners are, they're looking at that and they're scared to death.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't want their daughter doing that shit.
No.
You know?
No.
So it's very interesting. I was listening to Young Turks one time, and what's her name? Kasparian was talking about how the hijab, there's like some hijab thing in Europe, and she was basically saying, well, yeah, they should have the freedom to do that, but at the same time, we should have the freedom to not be traumatized by having to see a woman in a hijab. I was like, what the fuck?
That's
okay.
Traumatizing.
So I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think that it's traumatizing, but I don't know if like maybe it is traumatizing for some women who look at it and think like of the system that surrounds it and the control and the male dominance and stuff like that. Maybe that triggers them.
Yeah, but again, you're looking at from a Western perspective. You're looking at the girl wearing a hijab as being male dominated. What if she loves wearing the hijab? What if it has nothing to do with control? What if it has to do with her relationship with Allah? What if it has nothing to, what if she didn't care about male? But this is what I'm talking about. A Westerner, it's like, oh, unless she's walking around without a hijab, she's being controlled and oppressed. Where are we getting this from? So is Mary oppressed? Have you ever seen a picture of Mary? She's always wearing a hijab.
Yeah, I think that, but it fit the culture back then. Now here we are, we're in, 2018, and there's women walking around in our city with a hijab. I can see how people think that looks oppressive. Like,
well, yeah,
because
because
modernize or
well, because Western people are ethnocentric, and they believe that their standards and cultural mores are the standard and modern. And all I'm saying is, in 3050, there's still going to be women wearing hijabs. Has nothing to do with modernity. But this is what I'm talking about. Like, so does modern equal less clothing for women?
No, it just means like I think that a woman should wear like what's freest to her. If the woman in the hijab, that's a personal decision of hers, fine. But if it's being forced upon her by her religion or her husband, I don't like that. Why are you laughing? You know that that's true. Well, what about these women that are walking around in burqas? They freaking can't even...
Nobody chooses clothes or anything of their own free will completely. Nobody.
Because it's influenced by what we...
Yeah, your culture and all the rest of it influences why you wear what you wear. So then, in the Western world, the media determines what a lot of women wear.
Fear determines what a lot of women wear in other countries. Don't they beat them or cut them or do different things to them if they expose part of themselves? Okay, that's what I'm talking about. That's not freedom. That's not her making that choice.
The vast majority of women in the world who wear hijab are not doing it because they're going to be beaten if they don't wear a hijab.
How can you know something like that?
Well, how do you know something like that? Show me the evidence.
I know that they're beating them and abusing them if they do
Where?
it.
Where?
I don't know the exact place. The woman exposed part of her arm or something like that, and then they did something. Well, what about the girl that's dancing and then she landed in jail? Are you saying this doesn't happen? See, you're asking me this, but you know damn well that I don't know the exact details because I never know on anything.
No, the girl in Iran...
Is that happening? Are they hurting women when they don't have their hijab? Yes, that woman had her hijab off, and didn't they kill her or something?
It has nothing to do with her hijab. She was dancing
I'm not
in her
talking about
booty
her.
shorts in Iran, and I'm not saying she deserved it, but again, it's the fear of encroaching Western mores into the Middle East. And they don't like that shit. You want your daughter dancing in front of some camera in her booty shorts?
No.
Would you rather her in a hijab or dancing around in her booty shorts?
Rather her in a hijab.
Okay. I'm just very
But I'm not going to kill her.
First of all, there's nothing in the Quran or the Hadith or the Sunnah of Muhammad or anything that says you should kill a woman if she doesn't wear a hijab.
Do they beat them?
Hijab.
If they don't wear their hijab? Is there any abuse or physical thing that happens if they don't wear their hijab?
Sorry. How many... Okay, so if we went through a whole...
It's just a simple question.
Hold on for a second, because this is a ridiculous question. I'll tell you why it's ridiculous. How many abused women did we take care of down there?
Tons of them.
Tons of them.
Yeah.
How many of them were abused because they didn't wear a hijab?
None of them.
None of them. So when you say, is there 8 billion people on the planet, so you're going to say, has there ever been a woman that's been beaten up because she didn't wear a hijab? Of course. But that has nothing to do with the religion. That has to do with male control, and they're gonna be. If they didn't beat her for the hijab,
where do they get
that
beat her anyway from?
Their sinful nature, the same reason that the westernized,
what
modernized
that control.
I just told you there's sinful nature.
Their religion does. Their religion gives them an okay.
No, I just told you. No,
okay.
That's not true. That's not true. The religion doesn't say that you beat the hell out of a woman for not wearing a hijab. Source me that. Because I can tell you in Bukhari where Muhammad said,
if she doesn't listen,
don't
they said you
Muhammad
could beat their wives.
Say again?
Aren't they supposed to? If their women doesn't listen, they're supposed to beat them.
No, it doesn't say
something about the size of the thickness of something. What is it? Tell me. You know what I'm talking about.
We're talking about hijab.
Yeah.
And
what does it say? Does it say they can beat them?
It has nothing to do with hijab.
What does it have to do with?
Well, Muhammad was not a feminist.
What does it have to do with?
It has to do with conflicts between a man and a woman.
And what about it? Explain it. Stop hesitating because of your love for Islam. Say the truth. What is it?
Well, first of all, you're conflating two issues. You're saying that the reason that you admitted to me that we are full and surrounded by Muslims, and all your time in ministry, you haven't counseled one woman who was beaten by a Muslim man.
Please, I haven't had any of the discussions with them like that. I asked them about coming to this country, talking about different things, and a lot of them look fearful.
Have you seen dudes go after women, like in public in broad daylight?
Yep.
You saw that?
Yep.
Is it a Muslim dude?
Nope.
Have you ever seen a Muslim dude here raise his voice to a woman in public?
No.
Okay, then. So
are you going to answer my question, though? Because
I'm trying to answer your question. What you're saying is that if they don't wear hijab, they get beaten.
Tell me what the Quran says about them beating women.
Are you disagreeing?
I am disagreeing with you because I think. Are you going to let me talk?
I'm asking you a question.
I'm telling you what I think. I think that Sora, whatever. I think that it says something about I think that she has to be listening to him, and if she doesn't listen to him, then she can
banish them to beds apart, and if they don't listen, then he can beat her.
Banish them to beds apart. Ugh. Okay.
And more than one life.
Okay. Yeah, that makes me mad, and we're not going to talk about that subject.
It'd have been useful. It'd be useful now, obviously.
No, it wouldn't be useful now.
No, what I'm trying to explain to you is you're changing the goalposts.
Okay, so no.
So you're admitting that there's nothing in the Quran or the Hadith.
If she's supposed to listen to him, and if not, he can beat her, then he wants her in a hijab, then if she doesn't wear the hijab, what the hell do you think happens to her? You don't think she gets beaten? If she dares to go out without her hijab?
You're not getting my point.
What is your point?
My point is that you yourself have experienced that men are going to beat women regardless. And you're trying to use the hijab, you and Anna Kasparian are trying to use the hijab as some symbol of male oppression. And what I'm saying is that is enigmatic of your Western, modernized, quote unquote, ethnocentric view of femininity. Because you're saying if you wear the hijab, that automatically equates to you being oppressed. That's bullshit.
Oh, because you're saying some of these women like their hijab.
I'm saying most of them like their hijab.
Well, I haven't talked to most of them, and I haven't asked them if they like wearing their hijab.
Most of them like their hijab.
The ones that I talked to say it was hot.
There are Christian women in the Middle East that like their hijab.
Taking it off.
That like their hijab. And you gotta ask yourself a question. When you see half the girls, fucking 13, 14-year-old girls walking around half naked and shit, broadcasting all their goodies for the whole fucking world to see, do they like that? Is that not a symbol of oppression? That's not a symbol of oppression at all.
I don't think that they think it's oppressive.
That's the epitome of oppression when you're being oppressed and you don't know you're oppressed.
Because I think the girls walking around like that are feeling good about themselves and they're feeling they're getting the attention
okay, that's oppression.
But all the while it's...
Yeah, because, well, where'd they get that idea from? Fucking Western culture that told them the only way you're going to get attention or be valued is if you fucking take... Why is Kim Kardashian a celebrity? Kim Kardashian couldn't have been a celebrity in the Islamic world.
No.
Why is she a celebrity in the Western world? What the fuck did she do? What is her contribution to society? I'm not mad at her. I'm just saying there are different forms of oppression. So basically what you're telling these girls is, hey, make a sex tape, prostitute yourself, and then you can become a multimillionaire. That's not oppression?
No, I think that is.
Oh, that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying
that
Islamic women...
But one doesn't negate the other, babe.
No. You're not hearing me. Let me try to do it again. When you go to a beach and you see a woman in a bikini, you don't automatically think she's being oppressed, do you?
No.
Okay, well, if I came from an Islamic country and said, shit, look at all these oppressed women because the bikini equates to oppression, would that be logically consistent?
Yeah, I could see how they would think that.
But would I be right?
What do you mean, would you be right?
What if somebody said, well, shit, man, they like wearing the bikini?
I don't think that you
say, oh, shit, they like wearing the bikini.
Yeah.
You say, well, fuck, that means they're locked into their oppression. It's over. Okay, it was the same shit. You can't say that because most women in the world wear hijabs through world history. Like I said, get a picture of the Virgin Mary. Google Virgin Mary right now. She's in a hijab.
Yeah, I know that.
Okay, well, so she was oppressed too. Why didn't Jesus tell the women to have their heads uncovered?
No, because I told you that, like, if your whole culture is doing it, then it's going to be different than if you're freaking in America running around with your hijab on. Like, some of them were saying that they didn't like wearing their hijab, but they had to wear it. And that they like when they can take it off at home.
I think that...
But if they have company, they have to put it back on.
Look, I live in a country where a girl can get shoved into an abortion clinic past police officers.
Yeah, I saw it too.
And the supposed feminists.
Yeah.
The girl got shoved in there. Nobody gave a fuck about her.
Nope.
Okay.
You're right.
All right. So we're not oppressed. Women aren't oppressed in America.
No, honey, I'm not saying that women in America aren't oppressed.
What I'm saying is it's irrational to say that a hijab equates to oppression. That's highly offensive and ethnocentric. And it has very little to do with my love of Islam. This has to do with my criticism of Western culture because newsflash, women were veiling themselves long before Muhammad was even born. 1 Corinthians 12. 1 Corinthians 12 was not written in the fucking in the 6th century.
Yeah, but they weren't living in their hijab.
What do you mean they weren't living in their hijab?
1 Corinthians 12?
They were Middle Eastern women.
Yeah, I think Middle Eastern women, but in the scriptures, it's not talking about living in your hijab. It's when they
women don't live in their hijab. Muslim women don't live in their hijab.
Well,
when they go out in public, they have their hijab on. That's not living in your hijab. You don't. The women in biblical times, when they were out in public, they were rocking hijabs for sure. That's why Mary is always hijabbed up in depictions of her. Why do you think that is?
I told you that was their culture.
Okay, so I'm saying it's a cultural thing. It's not a religious thing. The hijab is a cultural thing in the Middle East long before Muhammad was around. So for Western women, this is the thing that gets me. For Western women to try to equate the hijab with oppression is highly offensive. It elevates Western culture as if that the Western culture is the pinnacle of liberated woman. Get the fuck out of here. Western women are absolutely oppressed in whole bunches of different ways.
No, I would agree with that.
Okay, so then how dare Anna Kasparian or any other westernized woman say that that's a symbol of oppression? Who is she to say that? Like, you don't realize how insulting that is? I'm not talking about Islam. I'm just talking about in general. Like, if that's my culture... And I feel
totally different with it if it's a cultural thing than if it's a religious thing. Because if it's a cultural thing, yeah, fine. Like, that's what your culture does. Like, but you could do it or you could not do it, and it doesn't, like, nobody is going to be angry with you one way or the other. But I feel like that if a woman goes out without her hijab in Iraq or Saudi Arabia, that she is going to be, I'm pretty sure that one went out and her hijab slipped off her and they beat her. I'm pretty sure, like, that was something that I read. Like, I feel like that either you're not studying it or you're being, like, ignorant on the subject.
I'm not studying it, but you don't have any references.
So are you saying that you've never seen anything where a woman was abused at all because her hijab was not on or it fell off publicly?
I never said that. What I said was it has nothing to do with Islam. You're trying to blame the religion. What I told you was...
If it's a cultural thing and it slips off her head, what's the problem? I feel like you're not answering it.
What do you mean I'm not
answering? You've been dancing around the same thing for like 15 minutes.
First of all, I literally don't know what you're talking about. I have no clue what you're talking about.
You've never seen that where a woman got hurt because of her hijab.
I have seen something happen where there's this Muslim lady in a market and this Jewish dude pulled a hijab off and they went to war over the entire city because of that insult.
Yeah.
I have seen that.
Yeah, but that wasn't because her hijab was off. It was because they disrespected her.
Well, it was the evil Muslim man who went and fought for this girl who he didn't even know, but the pulling off of her hijab was an act of disrespect and dishonor. So this Muslim dude went and fought those guys and they ended up killing him. So he died for her honor.
Yeah.
I talked about that, and that's sourced historically. I can get you that documentation. What are you talking about?
Well, I couldn't have even told you any of that you've already...
Okay, so we don't get to randomly...
Remember we were watching that thing and that girl was telling her story and her father, like when she was going to switch away from being Islamic?
Yes, that's a different issue.
Yes, but...
How Muslims handle apostasy historically.
Before that, she started taking off her hijab.
So? Yeah,
and her father was getting very angry with her.
What I'm trying to explain to you is that if a person comes to America and hung out in Lewiston, Maine, and said, "Oh man, those white men, all white men do is beat women up over and over. That's all they do." And I said, "What are you talking about?" And they say, "I saw a white guy. I heard a story of a white guy beat up a girl." And then we were to say, answer it, yes or no. Well, of course, but that doesn't mean it has anything to do with whiteness.
Okay,
You
all
just
right.
ran into a sinful guy.
I can't source it, and I don't have my facts, but I am going to look into it because I believe that I'm right.
Okay, what are you right about? That there are men that beat up women for not wearing a hijab?
That there is fear that goes into why they... I don't believe that...
All of them.
Nope.
There's 2 billion Muslims in the world.
Nope.
What's
I think
the
that
percentage?
there are some of them. I have no idea what the percentage is, but I think that there's a pretty big percentage of them that do it because they have to do it, not because they want to do it.
I think the percentage of Muslim women who live in fear and oppression of male abuse are literally the exact same as American women who live in the fear of oppression and abuse.
Because you're saying the ones that would use their religion to hurt a woman is the same
They would have
ones
done
that
it
if they didn't have
anyway.
religion. Yeah,
They would have done it anyway.
Yeah, you might be right.
What are you talking about? What do you like? This is mind blowing to me. Like we held these women who've been beaten up by men, and we've seen it with our own eyes.
I know.
What are you talking? Like we've seen that shit in broad daylight.
Yeah.
And you know what happened? That dude was yelling and all this shit at this girl, and there's a whole parking lot full of people, right? Of dudes.
Yeah.
Nobody did anything.
No.
Okay then. What does that tell you?
Pussies.
Yeah, I mean, 1 is they're soft, but 2 is that like, hey, this is a normal occurrence.
I don't think that people were looking. You don't look and keep staring at something that's a normal occurrence.
You don't look at. What are you talking about?
So if there was a mom putting her kid into the car,
So when you're driving on a car and you're driving on the highway and you see roadkill, you never look at it.
Yeah, that's not.
You see roadkill all the time. You don't have to look at it if it's a normal occurrence.
It's some violence.
But it's normal to see roadkill, isn't it? But you'd still look at it.
No, I don't always look at it. I am
how do you know
telling
it's
you
there?
that anytime there's a conflict, I look.
Rate the song. You're out of your mind.
You are out of yours.
You and Anna Kasparian.
Whatever. Who is this?
Go immigrate to Saudi Arabia with a suitcase full of bikinis and go liberate those poor oppressed clothed women.
I never said that was. I'm saying that they should be able to make the choice for themselves if they're doing it because they love their hijab.
Yeah, you want our daughters to walk around in bikinis all day?
No.
You want them to have that choice in themselves?
No. I'm talking about the hijab, not the bikini.
How convenient. Rate the song.
I mean, 7, 8.
It's a 9.3. I think, like I said,
I'm surprised you gave it such a high score, being that it was speaking out against your beloved.
I'm not a fan, but I do think that it's an artist's sort of charge that you got to do that, man. You got to talk. You got to talk about real issues. So, I respect him for that. You got to respect him for that.
8.
9.3. Good Lord. You still love me?
Mm-hmm.
I still love you. Hmm? Bikini?
Not now.
Okay.
Wait.
Now you wear a hijab. Fit out!
Sorry, out.
Gone!